The 80s was the giver of many badass things, but what is the most badass thing from the 80s? Mullets? Michael Jackson?
Close, but no.
Arnold?
Are you shitting me?
Well, that's easy. It's ninjas! You know, Enter the Ninja, Ninja Turtles, and of course, the topic of the video, Ninja Gaiden!
Hey!
The creation of Tecmo before they merged with Koei is an arcade beat-em-up with the sole purpose of making what?
Delicious jams and jellies.
The game would be ported to the NES in 1988 as a side-scrolling action platformer. Oh wow, Kade, wait, a game on the NES that's a side-scrolling platformer?
There's a big surprise!
Well, just hold your petunias, Ed, I wasn't finished yet. I don't know why I said that as Sam Elliott. Moving on, this ain't no ordinary platformer. It's got some extra crispy stuff to it. That goes for the two sequels as well. These games are very well known to many who have tried and failed to claim that oh so precious bragging rights. In fact, just seeing these on screen probably has some 40-year-olds having non-flashbacks of 5-2 or 7-3 or the entirety of Ninja Gaiden 3. As the wind blows sakura petals and my meditation concludes, let us begin the test of patience, reflexes, and will known as... The game starts with a duel showing two ninjas exchanging blades, with one of them seemingly being killed, that ninja being Ryu's father, Ken Hayabusa. Ryu receives a posthumous note from his father saying that he has to take up the family sword and go to America to find out what happened to him. Vowing to avenge his dear old daddy's death, Ryu sets off to the land of the entitled and home of the obese to fulfill his father's request. From the start to the finish, you swing your dragon sword against many bad guys in your way, a slight deviation from the origins in the arcade. Oh, it's the standard NES fare. Get to the end of the level, beat the boss, repeat 5 more times, and then boom boom slash, game finished. But the sword isn't the only thing to dish out pain with. Like Castlevania, and I mean very similar to Castlevania, right down to the HUDs, you have sub-weapons to help you out, such as the throwing star, the swooshy star. It boomerangs back to you, and I like to play a game with it where if you keep jumping before it rebounds back to you, you can keep it on screen more often. It really helps out with some of the poor saps who happen to cross paths with it. There's the fire wheel, which aims upward and takes care of aerial foes. The invincible fire wheel, a one-time use fire barrier that surrounds you for a couple seconds and it lets you walk through any foe. And the best weapon, the spin slash. I love this weapon.
I love you.
I have a boyfriend.
It's a mid-air spin that eats through any challenge, and it makes every single boss in this game your bitch.
You're my bitch!
Very therapeutic for me when playing this game. The music is also very therapeutic for me because, well, it's simply fantastic. The tracks all bring a different vibe to each stage. Some are upbeat, some are blood pumping, and some can be intimidating. They really complement the cutscenes. Oh yeah, how could I forget about the cutscenes? While it might not seem like a big deal nowadays, cutscenes in video games were a big deal back in the 8-bit era. In fact, while not the first game to have them, Ninja Gaiden was one of the most popular games to feature cutscenes, and the way they flowed the story forward was revolutionary at the time. An actual NES game, trying to tell an interesting story in-game, and not just through text, it was unheard of. But those 20 minutes really left a memorable mark on people. You usually see one after you beat a stage, and sometimes you see one before a level or even in between a level. a while since I talked about the actual story of the game, so let's pick back up, shall we? After a scuffle at a bar and a trank dart by a hot woman, Ryu awakens in a cell, and the mysterious woman gives us the statue and tells us to go on and get. Ryu heads to a friend of his father named Walter Smith, and Smith then reveals to Ryu that he and his father years ago dug up these statues that were sealed off by Shinobi. Are we just not gonna talk about the fact that that's the Sega franchise Shinobi? Okay. The statues are said to bring the end of humanity if they're brought together. A smug ass then steals the statue, and after a quick deviation to go get it back, after we return, we find that Smith has been fatally wounded, and the other statue that he possessed was stolen. Some men in black suits then take us to a CIA agent named Foster. He then goes on a long exposition dump about how this guy named Jacquio wants to unite all the statues because he's evil! So we have to go stop him. With no apparent way out, we're dropped into the Amazon to head to his hideout. After reaching his hideout, Jacquio forces us to hand over the statue due to holding the agent woman from earlier hostage. We're then sent down some floors, but we eventually make it back up to meet this weird looking dude named Malth. After narrowly beating him, Malth reveals that Ken is in fact alive. And after we go through the 10th circle of hell known as level 6, we reach Jackaboy's room, where it's then revealed that Ken is indeed alive, but he's been brainwashed into a monster. After locating the source, Ryu breaks his papa free from the spell, but in no time after, Jackson attempts to hit Ryu, but Ken takes the hit for him, and after a badass camera shot, we face Jacquio. This boss is the bane of my existence. He constantly flies back and forth, spewing these homing fireballs that follow you, and it's very easy to just keep getting hit by them, and I've been hiding the hard truth about this game for a bit now, but I guess the band-aid had to come off sooner or later. Ninja Gaiden is, like many games of its era, hard. The main things that make playing this game more difficult than taking a shit that won't come out after a night at Chipotle are the cuckoo crazy enemies that have very annoying patterns like the jetpack ninjas, the huffing dog dudes, the Jacko Deuces, Jason Voorhees again, and these f***ing birds. Ugh, I hate birds in this game. I hate birds in any NES game. They always seem to give players the most shit, figuratively and literally. Knockback is here, and it sucks. I hate it in Castlevania, I hate it in Mega Man, I hate it in Zelda, and I especially hate it in this game. Going back a bit, the enemies themselves aren't too hard to deal with. It's just that this game has some of the worst enemy placement I have ever seen. You have to constantly wait at the right time to jump and attack, because if you falter in the slightest, you'll have a bottomless pit waiting to kiss you goodnight. And very often, you can't wait either because there's spawn points on the stage that spawn enemies from off screen. And if you don't move off said spawn point after killing an enemy, more will just keep coming like shoppers on Black Friday. And Jack here ain't helping either. Anyways, his fireballs are annoying and they move more erratic than William Shatner's voice. Hey, you, we are going to follow you. If you try to run, you just give up. And the cherry on top of the bullshit sundae, if you die at any of the final bosses, regardless if you have extra lives, you don't start at the room before the boss. Oh, no. You start at the beginning of 6-1.
What?
Which is actually a programming error that the developers intentionally left just to f*** with you. Eventually, you beat him, and an eclipse happens, yada yada yada. The statues combine into like a shrimp monster that tries to serve you more shrimp than a seafood restaurant in Florida, but eventually, you win.
Well, that wasn't such a chore now, was it?
The ending is only half happy since Ken is too weak, and before he dies, he tells Ryu that he's a big boy now, and he has to go on and get. And once again, like Castlevania, the hideout collapses as Ryu and the lady stand on a nearby mountain. She then receives an order from Foster to execute Ryu, but she loves him, so she doesn't want to. Ryu then tells Foster that he's already received one part of his payment and that Foster is going to be next. After the communicator is thrown away, in a cheesy ending, the lady asks Ryu what the other payment is, and Ryu says she's right in front of him, and they kiss. She then tells Ryu that her name is Irene, and they watch the sunrise as a new day begins, free from Jacquio. Ninja Gaiden is a game I have mixed feelings on. I love the gameplay, the visuals, the music and the story, but the enemy placement and how they respawn, and not to mention the bullshit curveballs the game's difficulty throws at you, are factors that keep me from loving it. It's still a platformer that I don't mind coming back to every now and then, and I recommend you guys try it out, see how you can overcome the bullshit parts. It is still a fun time. $1990 was a big year. The Super Famicom was out in Japan, but Tecmo had to keep the hype for Ninja Gaiden rolling, so they made the second installment, and I have to say, it's
Really good.
But there's more to this game than just, oh, it good, yay my brain happy. Some weapons are gone, like my beloved Spin Slash, but I found a new true love, that being the Invincible Fire Wheel, which instead of being a one-use insta-invincibility item, it can now be used as many times as you want, assuming you have the Ninpo to spare. Oh right, I forgot to talk about the Ninpo. That's these little squares, by the way. They have one change in this game. Blue now gives you 10 instead of 5 like the first game, and the red one refills all your ammo instead of just only 10. There's also these new scrolls that permanently extend your ammo by 10. They're scattered throughout the levels, so if you see one, be sure to get them. It's going to make the journey less arduous. Your sword is kind of different, and I don't know if it's just my brain tricking me, but I feel like it's not as snappy, and it doesn't always hit its target. I don't know, it doesn't feel like that happens all the time. I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy.
Get away from me.
A definitely noticeable change is the new Shadow clones. You can have up to 2 of these helpers on screen that copy your moves, which includes sub-weapons. These guys are fantastic, and if you have a big brain, you can really destroy bosses that are giving you a hard time. I'm sorry if you guys can't see them too well. They flash constantly, and I don't know if the capture software can pick that up. If you guys have any solutions on how to fix that, feel free to tell me in the comments. One last change that can be a little divisive depending on who you ask is the newly added stage environmental hazards that were added to some of the levels, like changing wind that pushes you, lightning that illuminates the dark level every few seconds, rushing water, and ice physics. Yup, if it's an NES platformer, you gotta have your ice level.
My name is Freeze. Learn it well.
They can be frustrating, definitely, especially against the bosses. Seriously, level 2 boss is seriously way harder than it needs to be because of that damn wind. But I see them more as a fun addition that only mildly upsets me. The story is one aspect of the game that some consider to be inferior to the first one, and I do tend to agree with that. The first game's story was well written, gripping, and exciting. Each cutscene was well placed and thought out that it made you want to see more despite your nuts being turned to mush. In Ninja Gaiden 2, the story's more simplistic and by the books, but it's not just that. It knows to be serious and can grab you back in. It can be silly, but it can also really be foreboding. The plot takes place 1 year after Ryu defeated Jackman, and it's then revealed that Jacquio was just a pawn led by a scary man named Ashtar. He plans to use the Dark Sword of Chaos to open the portal to the evil realm. After Ryu is ambushed by some monsters, an odd fellow arrives and tells Ryu to head off to help save Irene, who's been kidnapped. After some goose chasing, epic camera shots, and an expo dump by US Marine Robert, that's the dude from earlier, we make it to Ashtar's lair, where the game shows that, hey, this game actually has balls.
Whoa, 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 hey, 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 hey!
Considering Nintendo's strict guidelines in the 80s about gore, I'm surprised this made it through. You go, Ninja Gaiden 2. After a fight with Ash Ketchum, he sorta just dies and is gone now, and the sword swirls away. Ryu plans to destroy the altar where the Door of Darkness is and heads to it. Meanwhile, Robbie Boy is helping Irene get away when a familiar face intercepts them and takes Irene to where Ryu is at. Ryu then sees that it's Jack-Wio, dun dun dun, who reveals that the Jack Stack we fought in Ninja Gaiden 1 was just a clone or something, and that his spirit came out of the clone when it died, and that somehow means he's back? I don't know. I just don't know. After beating Jackson for real this time, we swear, while Ryu and Irene are talking, blood from Jack-Wio accidentally touches the sword and it opens the door, and the darkness goes into Jack-Wio and turns him into, this thing.
Go get her, Ray!
As a side note, if you die at the final boss, you don't start at the beginning of the stage like last time. Yes! But you do start 2 sections back.
Oh, come on!
But then after you finally defeat the final boss, we cross the streams to reverse the particle flow through the gate, we take Irene and escape as the altar crumbles. But even though the day is saved, Irene unfortunately died because of, that old stab wound from earlier. But suddenly the dragon sword turns into a beam of light, goes into Irene, and brings her back to life because... magic. Well hey, at least she and Ryu can relax and enjoy the sunset after all that trauma they endured.
Well, that wasn't such a chore now, was it?
Ninja Gaiden 2 is my personal favorite of the trilogy. No, not that one. It's the most beginner-friendly, with more forgiving checkpoints, tons of new ways to tackle enemies with the clones, and Firewheel. The cutscenes and music are still excellent, and while it suffers from respawning enemies, some annoying placements, and the stupid f***ing birds are still here, as well as having a more simplistic story, all that stuff doesn't detract from the fact that I still love this game and I highly recommend it. $1991. At this point, the Super Nintendo was already out in North America, and it already had a decent amount of heavy hitters for it, but the boys at Tecmo felt like they had one more game left in them on the NES. Ninja Ryu Kenden 3, or Gaiden, which according to this developer interview I read, it was apparently chosen as the name in the United States just because it sounded cool. Seems to be a reoccurring thing back in the 1980s. Gaiden actually means side story in Japanese. Take that any way you like about this series. Well, the game certainly starts out quite heavy, taking place between 1 and 2, so it's not really Ninja Gaiden 3, more so Ninja Gaiden 1.5. Irene is investigating a laboratory and is seen running away from something, and after being cornered by the figure, it's revealed to be, wait, Ryu, who's trying to kill her? And then Irene seemingly falls to her death?
I was not expecting that.
The real Ryu finds out what happened and seeks to find the phony, avenge Irene, and clear his name. He begins by exploring the lab that Irene was at, and let's deviate from the story here and talk about those changes I mentioned earlier. Trust me, we'll get back to the story in a minute. In Ninja Gaiden 3, your jump is more floaty, allowing you to platform easier, and you can actually grab onto the bottom of certain platforms and hang off from them. As far as power-ups go, we have the squishy star, the fire, the shit weapon, these 2 wavy toenails, and my darling invincible firewheel. And new to this game is a sword power-up that extends the hitbox of your sword significantly. I don't know if this was their answer to how the sword felt off in 2, but hey, I'm not complaining, this thing's great. Post-production Kade Wade here. I just wanted to point out these 2 things that I forgot to talk about when I was first recording this, is carrying over from Ninja Gaiden 1 are these health potions scattered throughout the levels that'll refill health for you, and trust me, you're gonna want to pick those up in this game. And also, the Ninja Scrolls from Ninja Gaiden 2 are also returning in this one, so again, like the health potions, be sure to pick those up. It will make the journey less arduous. beating the boss, Ryu runs into a guy who tells him to head to Castle Rock Fortress, refuses to elaborate, and just dips.
Alrighty then.
After going through some sick parallax scrolling deserts and lava, we see a familiar face on a TV screen. It's Foster! And he's pretty angry about Wii U stopping him from the last game, so he's the bad guy now. He just spouts threats and taunts you, you know, usual bad guy shtick. One trip through the jungle later, we run into the fake who killed Irene, who is not only our looks, but also our...
Who's texting me?
Walmart, stop f***ing texting me. Who not only has our looks, but our powers too, so Ryu can't properly beat him yet. He just says that Foster ordered him to leave him alive and tells him, like all the others, to head to the Castle Rock.
Yes, I know that.
After another stage of not heading to Castle Rock, we meet up with that guy from stage 1 who reveals himself to be Clancy! A guy who worked with Foster to create these creatures called bionoids, made from this stuff called life energy, which came from a riff that Jacquio made when we beat him or something? I don't know. When Foster got power hungry, Clancy was afraid, he ran away, now we have to head to Castle Rock. I know!
You know, I got it.
At least we get a cool cinematic shot of the fort after all that teasing. It's nice to see this stuck around. It's probably a good time to mention this was where the series started to embrace its Japanese-ness, since the OVA was released around the same time, and they probably were inspired to emulate that look in the cutscenes compared to the more American action movie style of the first two games. And yes, that OVA is real, check it out, it's pretty awesome.
What are you waiting for? Chinese New Year? Go, go, go!
We eventually make it to Foster, and the clone Us appears and is ready to fight us, but a familiar face shows up, and it's Irene!
I thought you were dead.
My death was greatly exaggerated.
She then reveals that she was actually working with the army to try to get Foster to reveal himself. I guess that kinda explains why Robert became a thing in 2. Rest in peace to my boy. But the clone Us does some cool shit and gets buff. Irene, honey, you have the right idea, but that's not gonna work. Let the one with the magic life-saving sword that you don't know will save your life yet do the talking, okay? After beating the faker, Clancy shows up and reveals that he was actually the one pulling the strings, dun dun dun, and tricked Ryu into killing the clone so that the life energy opens a portal to a parallel dimension so he could access more power. What is going on in this plot? He then dips while Foster attempts to follow but gets evaporated by the portal. Irene, looking the hottest that she's ever looked, begs Ryu not to go, but considering the situation at hand, he's gotta go, Irene. After going through some slippery crystals, we run into Foster, who's a scorpion now. We finally show him who's boss and find Clancy, who's a smurf now, I guess. And he then reveals that the ruins that we're actually at are actually a warship. Hey, that explains the subtitle. Irene then watches as they arise out of the ground. Wait, if they were in an alternate dimension, how did they get underground? After a callback to 1 and going through a whole bunch of bullshit, we reach Clancy again, who now looks like Sylvester Stallone if he dipped himself in moldy runny cheese. He tries to convince Ryu to join him in destroying humanity cause we suck, and I mean, we kinda do, but Ryu sees beauty in us, so he takes his sword and fucks him up. After seeing the cool usual castle collapsing, Irene and Ryu, who was teleported out of the ship, ponder why humanity tries to pursue stupid things. Ryu then says, despite evil people being a thing, he believes that humanity won't destroy themselves to achieve a dumb goal. And they watch the sun rise on a new day, not just for themselves, but for the series as a whole. Even though the NES games are over, the series will live on, ball-crushing difficulty and all.
Well, that wasn't such a chore, no?
Shut up.
As I foreshadowed a couple of minutes ago, the Japanese version and US version are different. And I mean, very different. How different? Well, In the Japanese version, you only take 1 hit, but in the US version, you take 2. The Japanese version has a password feature, so you can go back to where you were as long as you have one to put in, so they decided to take that out in the American version. The checkpoints were more generous, you have more power-up spawns like all the other games. You had infinite continues, but the US puts you in harder spots, limits power-ups, and for some fucking reason, only gives you 5 continues, and if you lose them all, you have to start the whole game all over again.
And now you have officially carried it too far, buddy.
And you know, there's some other stupid stuff too, like if you don't die on level 7 and get to the boss, you will not have enough time to beat all the phases. So someone didn't consider that. The stages drag on so much, and level 7 just seems to never end. And it even feels like you need the fire wheel just to even get through it. And if you don't keep the fire wheel for the whole level, congratulations, you're Thankfully, unlike the last 2 games, your weapon ammo isn't drained to add to the score. So if you can, and if you have enough patience, save fire wheel or any other weapon you have sparingly. And that was a lot. I didn't mean to be so negative, it's just that I really didn't know how to talk about how the different regions are different. But I just want to make it clear that I don't hate Ninja Gaiden 3. I actually think the Japanese version could be considered the best of the original trilogy, and I definitely think you can make an argument for that. It's just that American version, man, I highly don't recommend you play that because it will turn you off so hard.